you decide that, you want to be part of our business community. And I will say that um, basically what I want you to really look at today is, it doesn't matter what you've heard, before about business and being a business owner. I know that most of the time there's a lot of negative energy around that, but I personally want, for you to have a mind of your own to say, what is it that I want for myself? What is it that I want to achieve in 2026? Right? So I know that right now we are in April. So that means the first quarter, 25% of the year is gone. We are actually now approaching half, the half mark of the year. So where are you? Where do you see yourself, when it comes to the goals and objectives that you've set for yourself this year? What are you seeing? Have you achieved, at least 2 or 3 items on your list, or maybe 25%, or let's say maybe 10% of your goals, right? So one of the things that we need to accept is that the environment around us has changed. There's a lot of people that are going to school, graduates that, graduating out of school successfully, but unfortunately the job market is not matching up with, the amount of graduates that we are producing each and every year. Right. And then we also have a lot of people that have frustrations when it comes to work, and then also some people that are saying, what, I'm working and I've been working for so many years, but I don't know what my retirement plan is going to be. Right. I don't know what I'm going to survive with or survive on in the years to come as well. Then we also have a lot of people that are saying, what, my health at the moment is not in the best shape, and I feel that I really need to look after my health. So either way, all of us, personally for me, I'm a professional doing business part-time, and I will say that I realize that having a salary, one salary, is not enough. It is not enough because it means you're just one dismissal letter away from having zero income. Right? I don't want to say to being homeless and losing everything that maybe you have that you're paying for, but it's a very dangerous place to be. And I personally, decided that I didn't want that to be my situation. Those that know me, you understand that I come from a very poor background, and that is something that I also decided that I don't want other people saying they come from a poor background, referring to myself. Right? So what it means is that whatever your situation is, if the money that you have is not enough for you to live the life that you want, then you need to increase your income. I know that we are quick to say, I'm going to find another job, I'm going to find this, I'm going to find someone that is going to give me capital, or I'm going to borrow from the bank, get capital to start a business or start something. To be honest, most of the time, all of those traps for us to just be stagnant in a certain place, once again, not getting as much as we need for us to be able to live a proper work life, to have a proper work life balance. Right? So everybody works hard. Don't get me wrong. Everybody works hard. Even if you decide to start your business, we will work hard. But there has to be a certain balance. The work that you're putting in has to show and reflect in the income that you then receive out of it. I don't know if I'm making sense. So if your salary is your only source of income, Warren Buffett says then you're one step away from poverty, which is something that I don't want for anyone. Being there, I always say, been there, done that, and not doing that again. Right? So from here now, I want to talk about the fact that whenever you want to increase your income, the number one place to start is starting a business. Because obviously getting another job, you can never determine how much you want someone to pay you. It's something that is not easy. So for us to say, okay, I want to be paid, I personally believe that I would want to be paid over 200,000 rands, I say in Johannesburg, but I don't think my employer would, be quick to agree with me concerning that. It doesn't matter if I'm the top employee of the year and all of that, right? So when you start a business, obviously it's very important that in this case you need to think about what exactly am I going to do. And I love referencing COVID because it took 3 years of our lives that we're never going to get back, but it also made everyone aware that you don't need as much employees as you thought you did. Most of the people that you had employed, you probably don't need them. It also created a huge gap where, businesses now understand that there's AI, there's so many technology opportunities that they can use, and therefore reducing the workforce. So I'm personally in the medical industry, and this is a place where we never thought there would be replacements. I mean, we're always going to need doctors. Don't don't take me wrong, but we've got robots now that are coming into play already, not something to come, it's already there, right? So we've got a lot of things. I used to be in manufacturing, we've got automated manufacturing plants, and having an automated manufacturing plant means that you have literally taken out over 25 people out of jobs, right? So who knows what the future holds? I personally, when I got to know about this business, it was just one of those where you bump into someone. It was a group of ladies that day, and they asked me to take them a picture. I had no intention of finding a business that day. I had no intention of even knowing anything. All I just knew was that my Uber was late and I was very annoyed, right? But one thing that I want you to ask yourself is that when you decide to say, okay, I want to start a business, Natasha, the business opportunity that I'm going to share with you, you're only going to need a small startup capital. And you do not need to employ anyone. That means you don't have any employee costs, right? Secondly, it's a flexible business. That means you can do the business anyway. Today I was actually posting that, the being able to do my business from home for just 2 hours a day is amazing, and be able to reap, work that one would get out of 8 hours, right? That is the difference when you're the owner and when you're working for somebody else. So now, when it comes to risk, it's a risk-free business. You don't lose anything from starting this business. You will get free coaching, free support. Anyone can do this business, regardless of your background. That's why when you joined and decided that you want to attend this meeting, nobody asked to say, do you have O levels, A levels? What's your first degree? What's your diploma? What did you study? What's your background? Where do you live? Because all of that does not matter. It doesn't matter, right? So anyone can do the business, and you can make any income that you want. I should say that it is effort based. Whatever amount of effort that you're willing to put in, you will be able to get, what you're working for from your business. And you also get the opportunity to travel. And this is something that is very important. I always hear a lot of people saying, I don't like traveling. Travel for, one good trip, out of Africa or wherever, and you understand how amazing traveling is, how it opens up your mind. How, I always give an example that when I was growing up, we used to live in a one room where you have to, shine the floor and all of that. Before, I got to see other things, I used to think that that is the best that you can get. I used to see our neighbors that had 2 rooms, and I felt like, when I grow up, I want to have 2 rooms, right? So the more you see, the more you expose your mind to certain economies, to certain environments, you actually prompt yourself to also, you're pushing yourself to grow to the next level, right? And I personally believe that God, expects us to grow from grace to grace, right? So while we are in this meeting, I want you to ask yourself and say, what is it that matters most to me as a person? I don't want you to think about the person that invited you to this meeting. So I want you to ask yourself to say, as Priscilla, what is it that matters most to me, right? As Sarudzai, what is it that matters most to me? Vimbai, what is it that matters most to me? Like, as a person. And I'm asking you to be very honest, because you don't have to write that in the chat, because that's a personal thing. But I want you to ask yourself to say, what is it that am willing to sacrifice for? What is it that I'm willing to work for? So our business is Forever Living. We are Unstoppable Global, and we decided to partner up with Forever Living network marketing business for multiple reasons that you will get to know just now. And the reason why, network marketing is one of the biggest businesses right now globally is because it allows you to, for example, I said I do my business 2 hours a day. If you just have 1 hour, if you say, Natasha, I've got 1 hour, if you decide to do network marketing, you're actually going to be able to have, if you've got 8 friends that say, let's do the business together, that means you actually now have a total of 9 hours per day where you're working on this business together, right? In total. So that's why network marketers mostly, sometimes they look like they are getting more, out of their businesses than any other traditional business. This is because also you're able to do the business globally. You're able to do the business at whatever time that you want. Right? So network marketing gives people the opportunity with very low risk and very low financial commitment, which is something that obviously is very important. So I'm not going to go through this entirely, but I'm going to give you an example that a traditional business is, for example, maybe opening a clothing shop. You have to be there at 8 o'clock, open the store, then close at 7 o'clock. If the shop is closed, that means you don't make any income. Today, while I was at work, I posted a few videos on my WhatsApp status. I managed to make sales. I did not even need to leave the office, right? And I managed to sell. It was over about 210 US dollars. That's about 3,000 rands today. I believe that is something that is really amazing. And mind you, when I started the business, I just wanted an extra 3,000 rands because I felt like, I'm tired of borrowing from people. Where you get paid on the 25th, by the 15th, you don't have anything. Now you're borrowing money for you to be able to cover transport for the next 10 days. On the 25th, I need to pay back that 3,000 that I know I'm going to borrow again. So I decided that I want to start the business for me to be able to just make that extra 3,000, right? So our team mission as a global business community, which is Unstoppable Global, that you'll be part of, is to show, coach, and support people from all walks of life to start and build a business from scratch, as well as starting part time, and then while keeping your current commitments. So you might have another business right now. You might be working, you might be employed, you might be wherever you are. It doesn't matter. You are able to actually do this part time. I always say that Forever is a very good stepping stone for you to be able to actually do so many things. I know that there are so many ideas that we have, but sometimes then you think about the capital to say, where am I going to get that? Forever is a very good place to start because it requires low startup capital, not too much. I always say it's a copy, paste, and magnify business. Whatever you see monkey do, monkey see, monkey do, and you make money out of that, then you can be able to reinvest that money in something else, maybe that you're passionate about. I personally, did not wake up and say, you know what, I want to be a forever living business owner. I want to be, it was never something on my radar. But one thing that I can say is that the Bible says that God gives you the power to create wealth. And sometimes God does certain things in ways that we don't understand. So I really want you to understand that you are here tonight for a reason. You're not here by chance. You are here because there is something that you are here to take for yourself. Personally, when I started, the business, I didn't even know what that I had so many reasons. I'm actually going to share my story towards the end of this meeting. And I want you to understand that our mission is to help people pay off debts, pay off education funds, be able to have great work ethics. Global travel is very important. We've got so many trips that one can be able to say, you know what, I want to go for this, take my family. So yes, we decided to partner with Forever Living. You might know Forever Living business from maybe in the past, someone that did Forever Living. I want you to take all of that out of your mind. You might have even done Forever Living in the past. I want you to take all of that out of your mind and understand to say, what is Natasha saying to me today? What does this mean to me? Because I personally knew about Forever before I started the business. I had seen some people selling it. I mean, it's a business that has been around for over 40 years. I'm not even, I'm barely 30. So my question was, okay, the people that I saw selling Forever, they didn't really have much, they didn't look like they were making money. Secondly, I mean, it was an old business, so I wasn't so interested or, thought about it as much or gave it much thought. But and I remember the first time I heard about the business, I literally brushed it off and I said, you know what, I'm a scientist, I'm a professional, I'm going to get a good job, and I don't need to have a business, at this particular point in my life. I felt like, there's so much that I could do. But when I then called my sponsor, I remember and I said to her, you know what, I need to start this business that you told me about. Because at that particular point, I had really been honest with myself and I saw that I'm not going anywhere. It doesn't make sense. So I need you to change your thinking, change for you to be able to change your life. Everything that we do in life, there's people that make it, there's people that fail. It doesn't mean that if someone fails in school, then you are not going to school. It does. People get married every day, they get divorced every day, people die, people are born every day. So it doesn't stop you from living. So I really want you to take what I'm going to say tonight for yourself. I want you to be able to open up your mind and say, what does this mean for me as an individual? Because I know that, yes, we are here together collaboratively tonight, but you're going to be doing the business differently as an individual, depending with what you're comfortable with, how much you want to get out of it. So obviously, it's going to be different. Right? So the business was founded in 1978 by a gentleman called Rex Morgan. It's a family-owned business with headquarters in the USA. I will explain why that is really good, especially if you're in Africa. So secondly, it distributes products in over 140 countries. This is a very, very big aspect of your business. So now, I want you to picture this. In a traditional business, you need to raise capital to start your business. Then you need to find ways to reinvest in your business for you to create a brand awareness and for people to trust your brand. Let's say maybe you started a new skincare line, right? So you need people that are going to use your products for free in order to testify that your products are good. You need money to pay for scientific boards to test your products and certify them that they are safe, right? So now from that, all of that, it takes years, guys. It takes years, and every business wants to go global. So for you to then say, okay, I saw someone saying I'm in Cape Town, for you to say, okay, I'm starting my business in Cape Town, then I want it to grow into Joburg. We're still in South Africa. Then I want it to grow into KZN. I want it to grow into, then I want now to go to Namibia. I want to go to Botswana. I want my business to go to Europe. It will take years, right? It will take years. But now in Forever, you do not even need to do all of that. In this particular business, the moment you get registered, you are activated globally. You are able to actually, I make sales. The other time I was live on TikTok and someone just said to me, what can one take if they've got issues with menstrual cycle issues? And then I gave my recommendations. After giving my recommendations, I see an email saying, you've made a sale in Malaysia. This is your statement. This is what they took, and this is the contact of the person. You can be able to congratulate them for looking after their health and getting themselves some health supplements, right? I did not pursue that sale, but because the business allows you, there's a website that automatically gets created for you the moment you start your business. You are able to earn. I'm in South Africa and I'm earning in rands in South Africa. I make US dollars in Zimbabwe. I make euros as well. And this is something that I never imagined of. This is someone that started looking for just 30,000. And this is also the one of the biggest added advantages that because the business has been around for over 46 years, I have realized that when you post, the people that are around you, most of them actually know some of these products. Then they start asking to say, oh, I didn't know that you are in this business. Can I purchase the following? There are certain things that I don't even focus on that people ask me about. You're able to set up Google stores that people can be able to check online. The moment they say Forever Living Products, they find that, there's someone called Claudia that can be able to supply me in this particular area. So we're currently the largest aloe vera producers in the world, certified by multiple boards. I will tell you from a scientific point of view, product quality is one of the most important thing in business. If the quality of your product is not good, then that means automatically you're out of business, because it doesn't matter if you get 3 or 4 people that are going to like the product. There is going to be someone that is going to question the quality of your product, and that bad press literally spreads faster than the good information about your product. So it's very important that if you are starting a business, you need to know that the product that you're going to be pushing is of a good quality. So in this case, you are justified, you are guaranteed because of all these, and we are also the only producers of pure 100% organic health supplements, right? So you are able to know that, okay, my products are of high quality, my products work. So who are going to be your customers? Anybody that wants to lose weight is going to be your customer, right? Anybody that says, I want to look good, I want to feel good. People that say, what, I want a healthy family. People, one thing that I really love is the fact that COVID made it so apparent that if you don't look after your health, it's very possible that should any infection come, then it will wipe you out. It made it very true. So everybody nowadays, if you go on TikTok, look at just say hashtag body transformation, see how many people are trying to lose weight. If you talk about skincare, look at how many people are trying to, go for skin therapies to just try to look better. Look at people that are talking about how they're working out as families. There's skipping challenges now that people are doing. It's all because people are now aware that you need to look after your health. So this is the best industry for you to be in when it comes to starting a business. If you're asking yourself to say, do the products work? This is one of the products that I personally, retail, and it's the C9 weight loss box. Right? Why did I choose this? You will see very soon that it is one of the biggest market shares globally. So I decided that if people are spending so much on it, then I want to be known for it. Right? The first person on the top left, that's Naomi Cheke. She decided to lose weight. She got to know about the products from Instagram. The products worked so well for her. And then she decided to say, you know what, since everybody's asking me about it, let me start a business. Today, she's one of the top managers in the business in Namibia and globally as well. She's actually going to be traveling to come to Cape Town to collect what we call a global rally check. You know, there's all these other people. There's Gita, she's from Zimbabwe, on the top right corner. She had a heart condition, and she decided to start using the supplements. The supplements started helping her. And from that, she started a business. She's also a manager in the business. And you find when it comes to whether the products work, I mean, there's a lot. There's the lady on the bottom left corner, she's from Zimbabwe, based in South Africa. She decided to say she was a waitress. She decided to use the products just for her face. And ever since then, the products worked. And then she decided to start the business. She's currently recently finished building a house in one of the most expensive estates in South Africa called Eye of Africa through this business. And her husband was a security guard, earning 3,000. She was earning 3.5. Their total household income was 7,000 rands. To not to from that life, for them to be able to actually achieve where they are, it's absolutely amazing. That's why I said it's a business where ordinary people get to achieve extraordinary results. You just have to want it bad enough, right? And then in the middle, we've got Dr. Elizabeth Riwa. She's a medical doctor, and she decided that she wanted to use the products for her skin. And also remember, for a lot of women, when they after the childbearing phase, they gain a lot of baby fat, which they struggle to lose. So she then decided, as a medical doctor, she knows the impact of that. It's not to say that that weight is just there. It actually has a negative impact as well after the pregnancy. So she decided that, you know what, I need to lose that weight. And just by doing that, she managed to build. She's one of the top 5 leaders in East Africa today in this business because of the products, right? So, what is it that we do in this business? We do 4 things. Number one is use your own products. You know, this is where you become your own best customer. Why is this important? You cannot say, actually, let me use an example. Let's say you own a boutique, you know, you've got a clothing line and all of that. When we see you, we'll expect to see you looking, you know, great, looking good, looking sharp. So we can be able to say, oh, now she owns a boutique, you know, he owns a clothing line, right? So in this case, you've seen the examples of the people that I showed you. They used their own products. And from that, their skin changed, or they lost weight, or in the case of Heather, you know, her heart condition also improved. So whatever it is that you want, personally for me, it was my skin that made me. I decided to say, not, I need to work on my skin. I'd already started purchasing products as well from Forever, through Take a Lot and all of these other places. And I was like, you know, these products are expensive. I'd rather just be a business owner. And also, all of those reasons actually then pushed me to become a business owner. From that, you then share about the products. This normally happens organically. Personally, I drink collagen. It's one of my favorite products. And by just drinking collagen, I make so much sales. I have literally purchased my first car, guys, by just one product. And Forever has got over, you know, 40 products that you can decide to focus on and choose from. And then you can decide to say, you know what, I want to go beyond the retailing, and I want to build a team. I want to take the network marketing aspect of this business. So you can choose to end on retailing, and you will make a lot of money. You will make decent income. I'm not going to lie. Because, for example, personally, the last 6 months of 2025 were absolutely amazing. I sold over 17 collagens in the last 6 weeks, when everybody was saying nobody's spending money because it's Christmas. People are trying to save for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day and all of that. I was making so much sales. I had over 1,800 US dollars in my pocket during that time from sales. So obviously, from that, everything else, I'll even show you how I also manage my finances. But from that, if you decide to say, you know what, I want to go beyond that, I want more, then you can decide to say, you know what, I'm going to build a business, a networking marketing business. And this is really, really good, especially for us in Africa, because, you know, we go through a lot of our currencies, you know, impacted quite a lot, and the value sometimes then goes down, sometimes goes up. So to have that stability, you can build a business and say, I want to focus on Europe, I want to focus on the UK, you know, Germany, all these other countries that have stronger you know, economies. So when, how am I going to sell these products? There's people that you know, we're going to do product launches with you. There's health talk that you can take advantage of. You will receive training. Personally, when I started the business, I did not even have one person that I could say I'm going to talk to them for them to be able to purchase these products from me. I didn't even have a local church that I was using that I can say I can carry them there. People know me and I'm going to ask them to support my business. There was no one. So I decided to rely on social media because I read a book that was talking about how social media is making other people millionaires, billionaires, yet others are just consumers. So it's like you're just consuming the content, but you're actually, when you're consuming that content and you're watching, and it's so easy to not fall asleep, especially if you're on TikTok, because you just go from one video to the next. I personally love the stories on TikTok. So you're actually making money for somebody else. That is the reason why they're so consistent in posting, right? So I decided that I'm going to use social media to my benefit. If I'm going to be using my data, I'm going to make sure that I use it to my benefit, which is something that you can do as well. So if you decide to say, using this one aloe vera gel as an example, it's one of the main most popular products globally because it cleans the digestive system. So that's something, everything starts in the gut. Everybody understands that, it's certain problems, clean your stomach first, then you can start eating healthy. So if you decide to say, I want to retail 2 bottles per day, that's over 323 rands per day. If you decide that I want to do this for 5 working days, that's 1,600. 4 weeks, you've got over 6,400 rands. So remember, when I started, I was looking for how much? 3,000, right? So can we see that 3,000? I just wanted half of that before we go any further, right? And then if you decide to say, you know what, let me share about the business, I want to also go into network marketing aspect of it, and you share the business, help someone else, and I understand that sometimes network marketing, people believe that I'm going to be working, people are going to be working for you. In this business, that's not what we do. And that's not how it works either. You can actually bring in someone into the business and they will make more money than you. So it's a network marketing business, yes, but there's certain controls that are there. And if you are not working on your business, then that's it. Those that are working will get, they'll reap what they're sowing. Right. So if you decide to say, I want to share the business with one more person, Forever is going to say, thank you so much, for changing a life. Here is 1,500, to congratulate you and for you to support that person as well. And then from that, because you have actually done above and beyond what we call the minimum key performance indicator, which is 4 case credits, you'll get to understand more of this in your own body. Then you'll get an additional boost bonus, which is 5%. Where Forever is saying, you know what, we understand that you just started your business. Maybe you've got social media costs, you're running ads, you want to buy data, you want transport. We're going to give you back 5% of everything that all the products that have moved from the center, because of you. So I think this is amazing, guys. What does 9,000 pay for? I just want to see in the chat, what does 9,000 pay for? For me, it actually can pay my car payment, right? So what would 9,000 pay for? Are you seeing groceries? Are you seeing transport? Are you seeing electricity? Are you seeing rent? You can just put your messages in the chat. I want to see what what 9,000 can cover for you. I want to see what 9,000 can cover for you. So while you're typing that in, I want to then talk about the fact that when you start business, you start the business as what we call an assistant supervisor. That is a person in the business. So the reason why we have these levels actually is so that you may understand. Remember, it's a global business. So we have people starting the business, same business doing in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, Namibia, Zambia, everywhere, right? So because we are all in different countries, this is the reason why everything that you do in Forever, there's certain levels. So now if, for example, Wimbai starts the business in South Africa, it's going to say Wimbai is an assistant supervisor. Then Wimbai makes a sale in the US, right? The US is going to actually understand that, look, I'm seeing someone saying 9,000, that is school fees. Absolutely, absolutely, you are right. And that wouldn't it be amazing to be able to actually cover that from your business, or save even, So in the US, they're going to say Wimbai made a sale in the US, and the system says she's an assistant supervisor. So she's privy to how much? 30% profit. So 30% of that sale is going to go to Wimbai's account. right? So that is how the business works. So you're going to start at a 30% profit margin, and I will show you what the figures look like at a 30% profit margin. But the goal is for you to grow to supervisor, assistant manager. Normally everybody just skips that stage straight to manager. So the goal is to get you to manager, because a manager makes up to 40,000 rands per month minimum. Effort based as well. You have to be working on your business. But now the business says, okay, look, Charmaine, you are now a manager, so you need to drive, right? So, because there are two things that get people into debt: trying to purchase a vehicle and also trying to purchase a house. So, Forever said, let us help you with one of those. So, there's what we call a Forever to Drive that you are able to qualify for, right? So, I want you to look at the streams of income that you have in this business. Number one, there's sales. Number two, there's also sign up bonuses. Number three, there's also going to be performance bonuses. For example, if you do your 4CC, all of that, then you're going to get that preferred customer bonus, right? And then now we are on income number four, which is Forever to Drive. This is where Forever says, look, we are seeing that you're working on your business, you've become a manager, now you need to drive. Level one, you're going to get over 241,000, over 3 years. And level two, that's over 362,800. Level three is then 483,000, right? Obviously, I mean, 483,000, guys, that's a very beautiful car, right? This is where the Mercs come in. This is where, I don't know if you are understanding what I'm saying. And this is where Forever is saying, additionally, you're going to get this out of your business. So this is something that is, I believe, is amazing, right? So we are on income number five right now. Then from that, you also have there's other incentives. For example, there's ego managers are people that are pushing the business. Basically, they make almost double what a normal manager would make. A normal manager makes about 40,000. Ego managers almost double that, right? So I mean, do how many jobs that we know of right now where you can guarantee to say, what, if I work hard this year, next year they're going to promote me to start paying me 80,000 net. I'm talking about net. How many of us can say there's a job that can do that? How many of us can say I can convince my employer to do this for me? So, right, when you decide to say, what, I want to start the business, you start the business with what we call a Start Your Journey box. This Start Your Journey box, it contains all the products that, the fast movers, the ones that the market already knows about, the ones that the market, they're also on the cheaper end of things, that people can easily purchase just for the sake of supporting your business because you just started. That is what this box is created for. However, the moment it writes that in this, we have it in the system that, okay, in this case, Priscilla purchased a Start Your Journey box, and this is what she did. That box activates you to become a business owner, right? It activates you to become a business owner. From that, so you might be asking yourself, how much is the box? The box is 7,400 rands. Personally, when I started the business, I did not have that money. I was working a whole scientist, you go for family meetings and they're like, oh no, she's a biochemist, this one. She's the one making, the antibiotics and all these pills that we're taking and what. And you sound important, but I did not have that 7,400. Right? So I will say I didn't have it when I started, and I knew that even if I saved, I would not have that money. So I decided to borrow, because I decided to take a risk on myself, believe in myself, and take a leap of faith and start the business. And I really thank God that I did that. The person that even borrowed me the money, it wasn't one person, it was a collective number of people, by the way. They didn't even know that I was starting a business, because I couldn't say I'm borrowing money to start a business, and then they know that I've failed in 3, 4, 5 businesses before that. I had a baby clothing line that failed, a solar business that failed, real estate business that failed, mining, all these other things. So there was no way I was going to say, you know what, I'm starting another business again, and I need your support, for you to give me money to start. I just came up with a story. But what I knew was that this was my final stop. Why did I know that? Because here you have a community of people that are going to start, that are going to support you in your business, and they're going to hold your hand. And I was told, Natasha, you don't have to do this by yourself. We are going to help you. right? We are going to help you, and whatever it is that we're going, there's going to be free coaching, free training. You just have to want, what you're looking for. You don't even need to have a market. You don't need to know anyone. You don't need to have a social media influence. By the way, I just have 200 followers on my Instagram page, but I'm still able to, get so much as well out of this business. So we will teach you how exactly we're doing it. So I'm going to reintroduce myself. My name is Natasha Michelle, and I am a brand new manager in Forever, and I'm super super excited. I'm no longer that person that was looking for 3,000 rands, guys. I have business in over 6 countries, that which is something that I wasn't even looking for, right? So I've become a global business coach. I never knew I could be a business coach. When I started my business, you see my picture on the left. That was the first day I met my sponsor. Today I call her my destiny helper. When I bought my car, she was the first person that I texted to say, look at what God has done through this business. Right. And, when I started my business in September. By November, I had become what we call a supervisor, which is what I shared with you, moving to 38% profit. And this was because there was an incentive as well for you to get a cruise ship from Durban to Mozambique. And I'd never been on a cruise ship, guys. So I was like, oh, this business has come at the right time. No social life. I've never gone anywhere. Let me do this. I didn't even know how to do it. I remember at this training in October, that is when I decided that I want to become a supervisor. I was sitting next to someone from Namibia, and I said, how do I become a supervisor? She literally drew and wrote for me on a piece of paper. That piece of paper helped me, and I made 17,000 rands while moving to supervisor the next month. That money was for me. But was the plan that I used and the strategy that I used mine? No. That is the benefit of being part of a business community. And here on the left, the far left, that is my downline. Her name is Ruth. The picture is just loading on your side. Her name is Ruth, and this was us with the CEO of Forever, and that was it was a very amazing experience. She had also just leveled up to supervisor. I had moved up to assistant manager, and the next picture was immediately after leveling up to assistant manager. I decided that I want to become a manager, and we strategized together. You are not going to have to do this by yourself, and by becoming a manager, I did qualify for another cruise ship that we are going to be going for, and that I'm looking forward to going to. And I believe that everyone here, we can all do this together. This was the day when I was being recognized. And how amazing is it that, the first day when I met this woman, Veronica Kundia, I didn't even know that I would be here. I didn't even know that I would be, looking for so much money, and getting so much out of this business, from 3,000 to over 40,000. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. And what can an extra 40,000 do for you is my question tonight. What would that extra, because remember, I'm still working. I'm still working. I literally just came back home right now at 6:30 in the evening. I'm still working and doing my business part-time. So if I can do this part-time, imagine maybe what you can even do. Maybe you might even do more. You might even be in a better situation than I was, and you might be, maybe you even have 3 or 4 people that you believe would support your business. I didn't have that, right? So my question to you is, are your goals big enough? My goal, and what pushed me, my why, my biggest why, is the fact that I'm the only child from my mother's womb. Of course, I come from a family that has a lot of children, but one thing that I knew was the fact that I have no one else to rely on but myself. So most of the time when we're looking for success is never going to come from the next person. No one is working to give out handouts. Everyone is working so that they can improve their own lives. So it means that when other people are staying up and they're working on something and working on their goals, we all have to do that. I hope that it makes sense. I hope that it makes sense. And I'm really excited. Of course, like I said, I hardly had much of a social life. And Forever has given me that. When I became a supervisor, this was me and the South Africa team. There's also the three sisters that came from Namibia, and it was amazing. It was my first time on a hot air balloon ride. First time to even have a helicopter ride in Joburg, and yet I live here. So it was a very nice time. We travel together, we pray together, we go on prayer retreats. And like I said, Forever is also a stepping stone for some of the things that you want to achieve. I told you that one of the businesses that I failed in the past was in real estate. I love real estate, and I just didn't know how am I going to do this when I don't even have 3,000 rands, and then I want to make money out of real estate. But now I have, through the business, I managed to save money for 3 consecutive months. I saved 33,000 rands. I managed to open my first Airbnb as well from this particular business. This Airbnb then generates another 22,000, right? So now already then it would be forever, then my job, then the Airbnb as well, bringing in another income. And within forever, there's over 5 streams of income alone. So I don't know if I'm speaking to you. Like, I don't know what it is that you want to do yourself, but for me, this is because that I thought of able to do. And I always talk about passive income. And this is the vehicle that we managed to get for about 350,000, and I can say that it is absolutely doable. Absolutely doable. I call her Mercy. She's a very cute baby, very, very, cute, very with so many safety features. Absolutely in love with this vehicle because also of the work that I've put into it. You'll see that I was actually wearing my collagen t-shirt, which is to talk about the fact that to give the story of where I'm coming from and how we are here today. So when I started my business, I had so many thoughts. I asked myself, I even had more reasons not to start the business than to start. Personally, I'm being very honest. So I was asking myself to say, what if I fail? And I don't know anyone who's going to support my business. I have no social media presence, and I have failed in other sales businesses. I always said I do not know how to sell, right? And a lot of people also associate sales with poverty. So I felt like people are going to laugh at me. Secondly, I felt like, okay, I'm so shy. And, sometimes you might actually not believe it, but I'm an introvert. So sometimes I felt like you're talking to people after a whole day of being at work and tolerating everybody around you. Then now you have to go talk to more people, to purchase. And I felt like, what? The people that I went to university with are going to say you're working hard just for you to then come back and sell. And I had no skills. I did not understand anything about finances. I did not understand anything about sales. I did not understand anything about business. I did not understand anything. I had zero skills. But I then said to myself, Natasha, what if it works? Maybe you're asking yourself the wrong question, but what if this actually works? What if it works for you? Right? And I have no inheritance and no one to save me. So if I leave this plan where I have people that are going to support me and help me with my personal goals, where else am I going to get this opportunity from? Right? And then on top of that, I had to be very honest that I need to depend on myself. Especially if for a woman, you need to make sure that you can depend on yourself. You can stand on your 2 feet no matter what. Even if you lose your job, if you lose whoever is supporting you, you need to be able to stand on your 2 feet. You need to have certain things that say, this belongs to Charmaine, this belongs to Saruzai. This is, this is something that you did with your own hands. And then on top of that, I even asked myself, I am someone that I like being factual and I like, doing certain scenarios to test, certain things. And I decided to text the people that I felt like would laugh at me, my friends. And I was like, I'm in a tight situation. I don't have money for transport. I'm looking for 300 rands. 300 rands, These are all scientists that have money, by the way. Some of them are even, working in certain, as astronomers and all of that. And not even one person came through to say, what, I'm going to give you this money, borrow you, let alone borrowing, not giving you, right? So I then realized that the people that I thought would laugh at me will still not help me if I need any financial, assistance. So today, I really hope that, you are honest with yourself, you choose your goals, you choose what you want to achieve. I know that sometimes we end up reducing our goals because you think, you know what, it's too difficult, it's too big. I'm dreaming too big, I'm being unrealistic. There's no such thing. If you're thinking about it, it means that it is something that is actually meant for you. It's something that God has put in you that you actually deserve. Everybody deserves good things. I do not believe that anybody deserves to have less. I personally do not believe that. I remember growing up, a lot of people, making it look like if you're poor growing up, you're going to be poor for the rest of your life. I don't believe in that. So I do not believe in any sort of things like that. And one thing that I can also know is that your background does not determine your future. There comes a point where you are a grown up, we are all grown up, and we actually determine our future. The decisions we're making today have an impact on tomorrow. If you choose today, for example, let's say in school, you choose not to read today, and then you fail tomorrow, you can't blame the test that it was or the exam was too hard. The honest truth is you didn't read. You made a decision not to read, and now it has manifested in failure. So when you choose to say, I'm not going to create extra incomes, and then you wake up 2 years down the line, you are in so much debt, and then I really hope and pray that you will not look back and say, you know what, I should have started more businesses. I should have created more streams of income, because you have that chance today, not tomorrow. I know right now, I know what time it is. It's in the evening, everybody's winding down, but you still have that chance today, right? So when it comes to the business, personally, this is how I focus every month. So if you decide that, you know what, I want to do, to retail stock, we call it case credits, about a total of stock for about 4 case credits. That means you're making a profit of 8,500. In 3 months, you've saved 20,000. If you decide to do more, like last month, I was in between 5 to 10 CCs. 5 CCs, you save 9,000 per month. In total, that's about 27,000. So 7 CCs, obviously, that means I was between the 9 and 17,000, which is the following. And also looking at the fact that as you grow in the marketing plan of Forever, you make more. So I've actually created these figures with the entry level of the person who just started, which is an assistant supervisor. So a supervisor makes 38%. Obviously, this is on 30% figures. So you make way more as you go up. And the idea is to grow you. I've got someone that started the business a few days ago. We're actually growing her so that she can become a supervisor, because the goal is for you to make more. I want you to make money. I want you to tick off your personal goals. I want you to come back and say, you know what, I've cleared my debts. I've done this. I've gotten a new apartment. That is what we are working for, right? When it comes to the strategies of the how you're going to do this, you do not need to worry yourself with that. For example, we've got a 90 days run that is going to be starting in a few days. This is where for 90 days, you'll be every single day, we'll tell you, do this, do that. This is what you can look out for. This is how you do your business. This is what 90 days. After 90 days, you're going to be a huge expert. It doesn't mean that we leave you either. So who can be in forever? Anyone can be in forever. Anyone can be in forever. It doesn't matter who you are. Here I can see there's Kumo. She's a scientist. She's a retired scientist now. She's not a scientist anymore. She's doing forever full time. There's engineers. The country sales manager actually for forever, she's a certified engineer. There's also waitresses and security guards. It doesn't matter what your background is. You just have to want more. You don't even need to know how you're going to do it. You just need to be willing to attend the training. Just one onboarding, literally, and you are able to kick off. And from that, day by day, we are working together, right? So you might be asking yourself to say, will it work for me? Absolutely. If you take it seriously and you're coachable and you attend the trainings that you need to be in, it will definitely work for you. And you need to be also willing to commit, right? If you say, I've got an hour, commit for yourself and say, I've got that 1 hour for me to work on my business. Okay? There's a lot of personal development. I personally got 2 promotions in my job after starting this business because of the skills that I got from this business, right? How to communicate. I didn't even know how to do all of that. So you need to be willing to think big, set some goals. You even receive a training on how to set proper goals, because I know that it's a skill that sometimes I didn't have. So I really love talking about it. And that way you can learn how to set your goals, how to manage your goals, how to grow. It's absolutely amazing. So almost every successful person begins with 2 beliefs: that the future can be better than the present, and I have the power to make it so. So obviously, it's not going to happen overnight. But if you don't start, it's not going to happen at all. Personally, I believe in you. The fact that you're even here for this meeting, for me, one of my prayers every single day is that God bring people that I know that you want them to be in this business, so that we can be able to work together within your will, aligned with your will. And that way it makes everything easier. When God is in it, I mean, it's easy. You just have to put in the work. He will bless the works of your hands. That is what he said, right? So now I just hope that wherever you are, I added value to you tonight, and I look forward to welcoming you in our Forever family. I look forward to working with you. I look forward to mentoring you. I look forward to training you. I look forward to celebrating your wins as well in this business. So that is what I had for you tonight. I hope that I added value. I'm just going to stop the recording.